Well, hey there, everybody. How's it going? Really glad to be with you. Really quick, wanted to ask you a quick question: is what kind of car or what kind of vehicle is your church driving? That's a weird question, I know, but here's what I mean. How you make decisions in your organization can be rocky. Sometimes when your leadership makes a decision that is last minute and really throws the communications team under the bus, then you literally are kind of under the bus and can't accomplish some of those things. It's very stressful. So if you have one of those organizations that's constantly last minute, constantly fire drill, constantly not thinking through or ahead of time, perhaps this is the issue. It's a story that my friend Paul Fleming, who I work with Church Com Team, told me. This is what he says all the time about leadership, is that maybe your leadership doesn't understand what kind of vehicle you're actually driving in your church staff. So here's the example. When you're a small staff or a small church even, when you're a staff of one, you're very flexible, you're very nimble. It's kind of like riding a motorcycle. And when you look at uh, riding motorcycles through traffic, they can zip, they can turn, they can weave, they can kind of do whatever they want. They're small, they're flexible, they can zip, 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 and sometimes even dangerous. But they can do all sorts of things that others can't do in traffic because there's just one person on the motorcycle and there's just one decision maker, and it's easy and it's flexible. Maybe your staff is very, very small. Maybe you're the only one. You're making decisions and you just go do things and it just happens. And there's no committees. There's nobody, no red tape, nothing to do. Typically startups are like this. Small churches are like this. Next step up, I would say, is maybe a car. It carries 4 or 5 people. You have a larger staff. You have a few more people in your church, but where you go affects all of them, right? So the person driving is still in charge, but they're taking notes and there's effects. And if you just swerve all of a sudden, everybody in the car goes, whoa, and it's a bumpy ride. If that person makes a decision to take an off ramp or turn, it affects everyone in the car. And so that person driving has to then start thinking about how their actions affect other people. And maybe your church is in that situation. You're not exactly a huge church, or a huge staff, but you've got leadership and you're all kind of close knit, but you're there and you can talk to each other and really work pretty well together if you're able to communicate. So maybe your church staff is like in a car. However, when your church staff gets large enough to be on, say, a tour bus, things change drastically. You've got 50, 40, 20, 80 staff on your church, staff, and that definitely changes how you operate as a staff. If you need to change lanes, something you can do zip, 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 real quick with a motorcycle, with a tour bus takes a lot of effort. You have to put on the blinker. You have to check all the mirrors. There's a whole lot more road you're going to take up if you decide to change lanes. And if you do it quickly, everybody in the bus, boom, buses are top heavy. Boom, it could roll over. You never know what's going to happen. So you have to take it really slow. You have to plan it out ahead of time. Doing something as simple as changing lanes in a giant bus takes a lot of concerted effort. The issue is if you drive the bus like you're on a motorcycle or even like you're in a car, you're not only endangering everyone inside, but others around you. And many church staff leaders operate their tour bus like they're riding a car and driving a car. And I think that when you have a situation where you're making last minute decisions, or you don't know if you're having a service this weekend, or how are we going to send this out about COVID, or what's happening in our church right now. There's all these questions that leaders have to make decisions about, and if they put those decisions off and don't make them and start letting your teams plan to help you do them, then what happens is at the last minute a decision's made, and now everyone has to ride into traffic with the bus. And it is dangerous. It is a dangerous thing. So if you're a church staff communication director, or if you're hopefully a senior pastor, you're hearing this and going, maybe the decisions I make, and this is empathy 101, the decisions I make affect more and more people as our church grows. So I have to think further ahead in order to not only accommodate my staff, but to help them help me make the actual thing I see happening happen. It's a long way of saying vision takes a little bit longer to trickle when you have a larger staff, and you have to accommodate that. So thinking about the motorcycle, the car, or the tour bus, what kind of vehicle is your staff actually driving right now? And if they are driving a tour bus, and I would say a tour bus is if you have over 15 to 20 staff, and then the bus size just gets to where it's not a tour bus, maybe it's an airplane, who knows? But when your church staff gets to be larger than 15 to 20 people, you're not even in a compact van or even a caravan anymore with walkie-talkies going down a mission trip. You're in a full-out Don Diaper or whatever, what his name is. What's his name? Not Don Draper. What's the tour bus? I forgot it. You're in basically a huge tour bus, and you've got 50 to 20 to 80 people or so on this bus that are relying on you at the front of the bus to make decisions to get them where they need to go. And that is where you have to start thinking ahead, planning ahead, using systems, using workflows, project management, request forms, all those things that people really start to hate because you didn't get into ministry because you wanted to fill out forms. Nobody does. And especially pastors didn't. So we find ways to help each other drive this bus in a way that actually gets us where we're going so that we can have fun. I don't know, at Branson or wherever you're going, wherever you're headed, Disney World. But I know that that's easier said than done. So what can we do? What are some steps we can take? Maybe you have this conversation with your staff. Maybe you bring somebody like Church Comm Team in, and we, one of the things we do is we work with this internal communication. So I work with the communication staff in helping you execute things and train you and get the workflows set up. But Paul actually comes in and works with your leadership and tries to help them understand what's going on to bridge that gap of communication so that we can fix this issue, because often that's the deal. So whatever your issue is, have this conversation with staff if you can. So I know it's easier said than done. So let me know how I can help you guys, and thanks for being here. See you later.